very good evening and welcome to Newswatch tonight as we look at stories making headlines across the country, even as Kenya's electoral body kicks off exercise to register new voters with just 10 months to the general election. This even as political bigwigs continue to traverse the country for votes. Tonight we'll be having a special conversation on politics and numbers here on this broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Tony Omondi and our sign language interpreter is Boniface Murithi. Now, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, has on Monday officially kicked off a 30-day-long enhanced continuous voter registration exercise, which is expected to culminate on the 2nd of November this year. IEBC targets to register 6 million new voters who have attained 18 years and have acquired national identification cards or have valid passports, or other citizens who are not registered in the previous registrations. In this first phase, covering 30 days, the electoral body targets to register at least 4 million new voters, with another exercise set for January next year if the target is not met. Kennedy Kimani begins our broadcast tonight.
As the country gears up for the 2022 general elections, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has commenced voter registration, which will be carried out across all the 1,450 wards in Kenya. The exercise was launched on Monday in Nakuru County, led by the IBC chair Wafula Chebukati. Chebukati has urged all agencies involved in the issuance of national identity cards to fast-track the process so as to ensure Kenyans who have attained the age of 18 get registered. Hope TV did a spot check at Ruaraka constituency in Babadogo and Lakisama wards in Nairobi respectively, only to find a low turnout of Kenyans coming to register as voters. Our first stop was at Babadogo ward at 1 p.m. and only 2 Kenyans had registered by then at the center. We then proceeded over to Lakisama ward, where the situation was almost the same. We camped there for a while and moments later, Lizzie Odhiambo, a 19-year-old lady, arrived at the registration center. She was so elated to finally be registered as a voter.
Huko imekuwa poa, hiyo process ya kuregister imekuwa tu poa, hizo machines ziko poa tu. That's all. Say at least na feel nimekuwa adult and vote. Wenye hoja kuja naweza advise tu wakuje.
A bunch of Kenyans have raised a concern, saying that the electoral body has not done enough voter education drive, the reason why many Kenyans are not aware about the registration exercise.
Na young generation ya vijana wetu na wasichana wetu wengi wale wajachukua vitambulisho, wengi wako wa viparua wengi. Sasa wakupata nafasi ya kukuja siku ya kwanza. Toa hivyo tunaomba IEBC ifanye maboresho nzuri.
Kwa vijiji, vijana hawajajua kama kura inafanywa nini, inabadilishwa. Ndio kwa ajili unaona tangu asubuhi hakuna hata kijana amefanya nini, amejitokelezea kuja kuchukua kura.
Country saima limefika ina depend on youth sana. So ma youth lazima tukuje tujitokeze tuseme ni sisi tunaamua vile vitu zitakuwa zinawaka.
It is all hands on deck as the IBC targets to register 6 million new voters across the 47 counties. However, close to 1 million eligible youth will miss out on this opportunity due to the lack of national IDs. Kennedy Kimani, Hope TV Newswatch, Nairobi.
Meanwhile, in Mombasa County, youths have been urged to turn up in large numbers to register as voters in an exercise that kicked off today. Addressing a youth gathering in Vita during the finals of the Machele football tournament, the founding patron Mohammed Sood said by registering as voters, the youth, who are the majority, will have a direct say in determining their future by electing leaders of their choice.
Tournament ni kuhakikisha vijana wetu wa Mvita washikane kama timu moja, kama undugu, kuondoa grudge za vijana za mitaa. Na hiyo kushirikiana na vijana tunajaribu kuwapa awareness wapate kutoka kwa wingi kufanya registration, kwa sababu youth play a big role in the general elections. Tunahamasisha vijana na tunawasaidia kwa wahusika wa kutoa ID, waharakishe vijana wapate ID zao kwa mapema ili wapate kushirikiana kwenye exercise ya election inayokuja.
Away from that, the government has extended the nationwide curfew by 30 days to curb the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe, while making the announcement, said the decision was informed by the fact that the country's positivity rate is still above the World Health Organization (WHO) recommended rate. And as Dickens Luvanda tells us, the rest of the containment measures, including mandatory wearing of face masks, ban on political gatherings, are still in force as politicians continue with their countrywide political tours.
Despite outcry from a section of Kenyans that the national dusk to dawn curfew be removed, the government has extended the 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. curfew, which has been in force for 1.5 years now. Through the Ministry of Health, the government extended the existing COVID-19 containment measures for another period of 30 days, with the Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe saying that Kenya is yet to hit the WHO recommended positivity rate of 5% for a consistent period of 14 days.
There will be an extension effective today of the containment measures, including the curfew hours that are there. And this is for two reasons. Number one is that we are still, as far as the positivity rate is concerned, we are still above the WHO recommended figures in terms of a 2 weeks period when you have got less than 5% of positivity rate at a high testing level.
Kagwe, while speaking during the launch of the COVID-19 information portal in Nairobi on Monday, said that the extension of the curfew, ban on political gatherings, and extension of other coronavirus containment measures for the next 1 month provide room for the Ministry of Health to vaccinate more people against coronavirus.
We need at least the 30 days that we are going to extend the time to, so that we can vaccinate as many people during that period as possible. As we head for the Christmas holidays, we need to ensure that as many people in this country have been vaccinated as possible. It is the only way we can be able to fully open our economy.
The decision to extend curfew was arrived at in consultation with the National Emergency Response Committee on COVID-19 and President Uhuru Kenyatta, with several Kenyans poking holes in the decision. Nairobi County-nominated Senator Milson Omanga says extending the curfew was not a wise idea, since this will continue to hurt businesses and the economy at large. The extension of the coronavirus containment measures also comes at a time when politicians continue to traverse parts of the country and hold Meet the People tours in total disregard of the ban on political gatherings. Dickens Luvanda, Hope TV News Watch.
Let's get to some politics now. ODM leader Raila Odinga took his Azimio la Umoja unity calls to Garissa County as he continued with his northeastern regional tour on Monday. Odinga, who began his 3-day tour of the northeastern region on Sunday, told residents in northeastern Kenya of his plans to transform the country's economy should he be elected the next president. He was accompanied by several leaders, including Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya, Siaya Senator James Orengo, Wajir Governor Ali Mukhtar, among others. Alice Diana reports.
With still 10 months remaining to the next general election, a section of politicians who are eyeing the presidency seat come 2022 have continued to traverse the country in a bid to woo voters to their side. ODM leader Raila Odinga, who began his 3-day tour in northeastern region on Sunday, continued his Azimio la Umoja campaign in the region as he addressed delegates drawn from Garissa, Mandera, Isiolo, Marsabit and Wajir counties on Monday. Even though he is yet to declare if he is interested to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta come 2022 elections, Odinga outlined several things he will do for the northeastern residents and Kenya at large should he be elected as the 5th president.
I still believe we need a ministry of northern Kenya and other arid lands. Given a chance, I will recreate that ministry and give it more power to unlock the huge economic potential of this region. Insecurity made teachers run away from this region. I will therefore push for a special affirmative action program in admitting students from ASAL into teacher training institutions and universities to create a local, committed workforce to serve as teachers and education officers in the region.
The former Prime Minister promised the youth the creation of the Youth Affairs and an active youth enterprise fund with clear policy and zero interest that will ensure Kenyan youth prosper, and promised to facilitate the issuance of the national identity cards to youths in the region.
Youth from ASAL areas are people on the move. I will pursue the Youth Jobs Immigration Program to review the quality of jobs offered to the Kenyan youth abroad and ensure the security of young Kenyans taking up such jobs, and make the entire process friendly, transparent, and accountable. And we will ensure that Kenyans who have attained the age of 18 are automatically issued with the identity cards.
Leaders from the Northern Kenya region counties who attended the delegates meeting assured Raila that they will support his Azimio la Umoja campaign and gave him instruments to defend their rights.
Huyu mzee ambaye atakuwa president wetu wa tano alipigania ile multipartyism, na multipartyism ilileta faida ama hasara? Faida. Alipigania devolution, na ikakuwa devolution ilileta faida ama hasara?
We have resolved to unite as a region and affirm our support for the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga as the next president of the Republic of Kenya.
For Hope TV News Watch, I'm Alice Diana.
And Deputy President William Ruto has continued his hustler popularization tour in Kisii County, where he's urged Kenyans to desist from politics of hatred and focus on politics that aim to reconcile all. The DP who made rounds in the county also castigated the government and the failed BBI bill. Grace Ongoi reports.
Monday, which marked the second day of the Deputy President William Ruto's Kisii County tour, led him to South Mugirango constituency. Ruto opined that it was time that the country let go of politics of hate and ethnicity and focus on reconciliation. This, according to him, will be made possible under the United Democratic Alliance. According to Ruto, if elected in the coming elections in 2022, he will form a government that will benefit all Kenyans, including jobless youths, whom he said most had acquired certificates, diplomas and degrees which had not helped them yet.
We must first prioritize the jobs for ordinary citizens, our children, millions of them who have certificates, they have diplomas, they have degrees, they have no opportunity to work in their country. That is the most urgent and most important priority for us. It is not changing the constitution to create positions for leaders. It is changing the economy to create opportunities for jobs for the young people, millions of them.
Additionally, on the matter of small-scale businesses, Ruto said his new government will focus on improving the working environment for businesses to allow them to make better profits.
Ndio tunasema bottom up, tubadilishe kwanza uchumi. Tukibadilisha uchumi, mwenye hana kazi atapata kazi. Mwenye biashara yake ni kidogo, tutamtafutia pesa, afanye biashara yake iongezeke. Mkulima mwenye anahangaika hana mbegu na mbolea, tumuwekee pesa ya serikali na tuondoe cartel na tuondoe mabroka ili waweze kufikisha mazao yao sokoni bila ya kusumbuliwa na wakora.
Ruto went on to attack the failed Constitution Amendment Bill under the Building Bridges initiative, saying its proponents were only interested in creating political positions and amass power for themselves.
Priority ni vyeo ya viongozi ama priority ni kazi ya vijana? Hapo ni kazi rahisi, nafikiri mmesema wenyewe, hakuna rocket science, ni rahisi kama wheelbarrow. Haihitaji gear, haihitaji mafuta, haihitaji driving license. Suluhu ya Kenya tutapata kwa njia ya urahisi kama hiyo wheelbarrow tunaona.
On the matter of voter registration, which kick-started today, Ruto called on the youth, who are a majority of unregistered voters, to come out and register as voters in order to secure their future.
Mimi nauliza vijana wote wa Kenya, it is the highest act of patriotic duty as a citizen of Kenya especially the 6 million young people in Kenya who today do not have a voter's card. I want to tell them, every young person must understand that their present and their future depends on who plans and prioritizes their issues. And they have a duty and a responsibility to make that decision in the ballot. And they cannot make it unless they have a voter's card. I am asking every young person in Kenya to take up the most important patriotic duty and get a voter's card.
Leaders accompanying the Deputy President, including Mugirango South MP Silvanus Osoro, Kisii Deputy Governor Josh Maangi, stepped in to also call on the residents, especially the youth, to register as voters.
Ninaomba vijana kwa heshima kubwa, kuanzia leo voter registration imeanza na IEBC leo tarehe 4. Kama hauna kadi ya kupiga kura, uende kwa kituo cha kuchukua kadi, upeane ID yako ndio uweze kuchukua kadi ya kupiga kura.
Wale ambao ni wanachiita nyinyi ni hustlers, kama hauna cheti ya kupiga kura, sasa wewe huwezi kumsaidia.
Grace Songoi for Hope TV News Watch.
All right, with that, let's now get into our interview tonight with our special guest, Mark Bichachi, who is a political analyst and communications expert. Mark, welcome to the show tonight, and good evening.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Let's begin with the rollout of the continuous voter registration exercise across the counties. The IEBC, of course, we've seen it. It targets 6 to 7.2 million new voters in this particular exercise. The current number of voters stands at 19.6 million, and if the target is met, will reach at about 26.9 million voters. And today we've seen low turnouts across most centers in the country. Do you think IEBC will be able to meet this target in a month? And probably why the low turnout in some stations?
Well, first and foremost, we must put all this in context. Number one, we are mostly registering new voters, and if not, young voters who've just turned 18, and if not, those who've just turned 18 to 23, then we are hoping to register people who not registered before. Now, traditionally, the people who not registered before are people who are not interested in politics to begin with. Secondly, many young people are quite disgruntled with the politics. They do not see hope in it, and many of them not only do not register to vote, but they also don't vote. Because in the figure you've quoted of 19 million, let's not forget that there's a very huge proportion that did not vote. The total number of votes did not exceed 9 million votes in the last election. So we have a situation where even just only 50% of registered voters actually turn out to vote. So it's an exercise that must be carried on, but I think it's time this country began to consider simpler things. For example, your ID card should be able to allow you to vote, and registration should not be a necessary exercise, as it were.
You've talked about young people, and most of them, of course, being disgruntled with the current political atmosphere and maybe failing to go for the registration. Why do you think that this is the situation in the country, and why are young people actually not maybe preferring to register as voters?
Well, the fact is that, number one, if you look at the demographics across the world, young people are not interested in politics because they're citizens of the world, but also because there is no much difference in ideology between the political parties and what they offer. Remember, with youth comes the drive to see rapid and very a significant change. So if a young person is not being promised rapid change or significant change, then you can bet that they're not going to go into politics and be interested in it. And so the reality is, it's not just about the politicians being able to attract the youth. It's also about the ideas and how rapid a change those ideas will bring and how significant that change will be also.
Okay. Now, you cannot mention continuous voter registration or mass voter registration without mentioning the game of numbers. It's like the bird and its feather. And with the current voter registration exercises and the numbers and the targeted figures, are we likely to see probably new political realignments based on regional populations?
Well, the regional populations have been established by the census, and they're already known. And even if you follow the patterns of the last 3 or 4 elections, you will clearly see what the patterns are. The most important pattern, it seems, in Kenyan politics is the pattern of tribe. And no matter how many young people register to vote, it is not going to skew the scales that much. You do not envision a situation where Mount Kenya will be perceived to have less votes than Western, for example. So it's not going to change much. And then let's also remember that it is expected that the bulk of these young people are in the rural areas, and they're more likely to vote according to tribe in those areas than they are to vote because of age, because of how they identify. How Kenyans identify themselves is a Luya Kenyan, not a Kenyan Luya. You know, as you go through the timelines of time, and so it is going to be quite difficult for there to be any significant realignments unless you see a situation where all the new voters are registered in Western, for example, and Central doesn't register any votes, any new voters. So no, I don't think it's going to change significantly the alignments as they stand today.
Okay, let's talk about the voter register. Of course, politics has always surrounded the voter register, be it during mass voter registration, cleaning of the register, you know, to remove deceased persons and so forth. And politicians will always politic around certain regions being favored in terms of registration. And that is registering higher numbers than the rest, and probably also the issuance of IDs to eligible persons to facilitate voter registration, and what we call, what I may call actually regional imbalance. Are we likely to see maybe such imbalances this time round, or politics around the register?
Well, you know, it's an interesting question because you're asking me to prophesy literally what politicians will do. So let me speak as a strategist and not speak as a prophet, because I think that would not be fair to the IEBC. They deserve the chance to do the right thing. But as you've correctly put it, a lot of politicians would have interests in ensuring low registration in some places, so they will play tricks around the issuance of ID cards. There are others who will want to see higher registration in other places, so you will see a push towards getting more ID cards, a push for them being on the ground, pushing people to register and vote. Now, all these things will happen, but we must remember that in the game of politics, you must always think of suppressing your opposition and increasing and massaging and finding a way to show up your support. So this will happen across the country. There's no politician worth his salt who's not going to try and push this. Now, for the other issues which may now border on the illegal, for example, dead people in the voters register and them being staying there, people who double registered. So let's say I registered in Bungoma and I moved to Mombasa and I want to vote in Mombasa, and then I'm not cleaned out of the register in Bungoma and things like that. Yes, those things will happen, but it is the hope that the IEBC is fully prepared this time around with an electronic system, as they've had all this time, to allow voters to check their names, check their polling stations, be able to change when they need to. So I do not want to predict doom for my country, because if we begin on that chapter, then we're already beginning to cast seeds of discord for 2022. So let us hope and believe that the IEBC will do what they're required to do.
Let's briefly talk about the diaspora vote. We've seen politicians lately get interested in the diaspora vote, with some establishing even offices in foreign countries where Kenyans work. Now, as the IEBC continues to register voters, what is the great significance or advantage of the diaspora vote? Is it worth the scramble?
Sorry, I cannot hear.
Well, Mark, I'm asking about the diaspora vote, and of course, we've seen politicians running campaigns and asking for the diaspora vote. If you can get me clearly, the question is, what is the significance of this diaspora vote?
Well, the diaspora vote is an interesting one. Of course, our constitution envisions that a Kenyan should be able to vote anywhere in the world. But the physical reality of it, ours still being a very manual voting system, we've not we do electronic identification. We don't do electronic voting, so which means a lot of these people have to travel to the embassies to be able to vote. So you can imagine if your embassy is in Washington D.C. and you're on the other side or in New York, or you are lower down in Texas, how are you going to go all the way to vote? Even in the UK, the embassy in London, you can imagine how far that is. So yes, it is significant because the diaspora seems to be less tribal, seems to be more focused on ideologies and manifestos and things like that. And if you have scanned how they vote, they are a bit more free with their choices than those of us who are sequestered in our country. But in terms of will it make a significant change to this particular election? No. In fact, a lot of politicians seeking the diaspora vote are actually looking for diaspora support because in the diaspora, they're already used to contributing to political campaigns. So what you'll be seeing is a group of politicians looking for diaspora money, but the diaspora vote is not going to change a thing. You're talking about 20 odd million Kenyans here, and then you're talking about less than 1 million who would show up to vote. So unless it really goes down to the wire, and the separation between the voters is the leading candidate is 500 votes, and the diaspora vote is what is going to break that tie. Maybe then, but in terms of significance, no, it is going to be very small.
Okay, now talking about the diaspora vote, and of course, what you're saying, it seems like the diaspora vote is not going to determine the winner of the 2022 presidential election. But why are the presidential aspirants scrambling for this particular vote?
Would always scramble for that vote because remember the democracy is about how many votes you can get. And let's remember that Kenya's elections is first past the post, so 50% plus one. So that one vote that gets you past 50% matters. So they will scramble for every vote that there is. And let's also remember that the diaspora also has a big say in terms of the villages and towns they come from, because that's the guy who's made it. That's the guy who's in London, who's in Dubai, who's in all these places, who has the influence to tell the people back home that this is who I really think is going to lead. So yes, there's always that dalliance with the diaspora. They will chase after it, but not in the sense of it is what they expect will give them this huge boost come election day.
Let's talk about the influence that politicians have over the people abroad. As aspirants seek the overseas vote, we've seen Kenyans suffer in the diaspora, particularly the Middle East. We've also seen governments and officials in government turning a deaf ear to the plights of Kenyans in the diaspora. Do you feel this will be an advantage for presidential aspirants to include a solution to the plights of Kenyans abroad in their manifesto? And can it work for them as a tool for campaign, probably to propel them into presidency?
Well, I would not issue a blanket statement that the Kenya government has turned a deaf ear to Kenyans suffering. I know quite a number of ambassadors and people working in foreign affairs and also in the Ministry of Labor to streamline these issues. Because clearly it's not been done to the absolute best, but let's not paint the country with broad strokes. We must be fair and Christian-like in how we cover these issues. So yes, is there an opportunity in the diaspora? I'll give you an example of the United Arab Emirates. You've got over 60,000 odd Kenyans working different jobs there. Do they want a union? Yes. Do they want to feel like their voice is heard? Yes. Is there a possibility that a candidate who speaks to their needs, speaks to their need to send money back home safely. They need to find investments safely. They need to be kept safe in these countries. Is there room in their hearts and in their votes for such a person? Yes, there would be. But then again, you've got to ask yourself, 60,000 votes versus and let's take Uhuru Kenyatta's number, 5 million plus Kenyans voted for him in both elections. So how do you compare 5 million to 60,000? So yes, there is a case to be made for the diaspora vote. They need to go after them. There is still a lot that this country needs to do for our brothers and sisters living in Saudi Arabia and other places. Yes, there's a lot to be done. But is that vote significant? My brother, I have to be honest with you, it is not. And therefore, I do not see the bulk of any manifesto being about diaspora votes, in as much as, for example, Manoa Spisu, ambassador in the UK, negotiated and the president witnessed and officiated this, where we've got tens of thousands of our nurses going to the UK. Now, this is a significant thing by any measure of success, but is it going to change fundamentally how this 30, 60, 70, 90,000 nurses vote? No, and it's not going to change how this country votes.
Okay, now let's move on from that. As we talk about political developments in the country, we've seen ODM leader Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto, of course, continue to traverse the country looking for votes. We also recently saw KANU leader Gideon Moi last week launch his presidential bid. Now, today, Moi has met with Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka. And now, as Oka tries to settle on a presidential candidate, Raila Odinga has not officially declared interest, probably officially in the presidency. Do you see him join his fellow allies in Oka, or are we expecting maybe a new coalition anytime soon?
First, there are a number of coalitions that already exist. The Jubilee Party, for example, has coalitions with all of the One Kenya Alliance parties, plus ODM. So that already is a coalition, an alliance that exists. Now, you asked an interesting question of whether Raila Odinga is going to join One Kenya Alliance. The question is the other way around. Is One Kenya Alliance going to join Raila Odinga? Because I really do not see a situation where, if you look at Odinga's move towards Azimio la Umoja, as he's moving to different places. If you look at that and the crowds that he's still able to pull, and pull them he has without One Kenya Alliance, I think the question really is, One Kenya Alliance, will they drop their ambitions to support the person of Raila Odinga? And that's really the question. As for One Kenya Alliance, you realize that they seem to each of them be lacking a particular ingredient that Kenyans consider for leadership in presidency. Ingredient number one is you've got to have a strong base. William Ruto has the Kalenjin Rift. Raila Odinga seems to have Nyanza, parts of coast, parts of western, parts of northern Kenya, his traditional base. You've got Kalonzo Musyoka, he's got the Akamba vote. Mudavadi and Wetangula are still discussing the Luya vote, so none of them really has it lock, stock, and barrel. And Gideon does not have that tribal base. The other issue you've got to ask yourself is the money. Who has the resources? In this country, there are 4 people, in my estimation, who have the resources to run for presidency. That is Raila Odinga, William Ruto, Uhuru Kenyatta, and Gideon Moi. Uhuru Kenyatta is out. Gideon Moi has just declared his push for that. But remember, he's already out of the 2 marks I'm giving each candidate. Then you have Gideon Moi with 1 mark, Kalonzo 1 mark, but Kalonzo doesn't have the money. Third, you've got to talk about the charisma, the ability to move the crowd. And in the field today, those are only 2. Only Raila Odinga and William Ruto can do so. So for One Kenya Alliance, each of them, you realize, only scores 1 mark at most out of 3. And that then should tell them that the reality is that it is not possible for them to mount a significant stab at the presidency, even if that stab is for them to imagine that they can get the third position. The way things are shaping up, it seems it won't be possible. And they forget one thing that is very, very critical. And it's very important to look at the moves that Oparanya is making. He was with the with the former prime minister in Northeastern today. You've got to look at Joho. All these retiring governors are going to make a stab at removing the tribal kingmanship and kingpinship of these particular individuals. So it is not the usual game. And let's not forget that William Ruto would probably be the other person they would consider to make an alliance with. As number one said that he's not going to form a coalition, so is Mudavadi going to quit his ANC to join UDA? I doubt it. And number two, let's be clear, the deputy president seems to be in a corner, and his running mate might have to come from central Kenya. So those are the dynamics that you've got to analyze in order to understand how the coalitions will form.
Okay. As you talk about the political influence and the political power, now with uncertain political future, a lot can happen now. And this is my last question to you. It's said in politics, there are no permanent enemies and no permanent friends. Is it possible for this country probably to witness a Raila-Ruto presidency or Ruto-Raila presidency?
Well, let's first talk about what is legally possible. It is not possible for William Ruto to be deputy president again. According to our constitution, he is out of that particular position. So no, you will not see a position where Raila Odinga is running for president and William Ruto as deputy, unless UDA decides to field someone else for deputy. Number two, will you see a situation where Raila Odinga becomes deputy to William Ruto? Now, legally and technically, it is possible. It is very possible that that particular coalition happens. If it does happen, if we wake up tomorrow and William Ruto is running for president and his running mate is Raila Odinga, let's not bother with an election, because the two of them will carry the day. There is no one who can compete with that particular ticket. Can it happen though? It is easier for the camel to go through the eye of the needle, I would say.
Okay, thank you so much. That is Mark Bechachi for us. That's a political analyst. That's where we wind down the interview tonight. Thank you so much, Mark, for making time for us tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me, sir.
All right. We now want to take a short break on Newswatch. Of course, we'll be coming back with more. But before that, I'd like just to make an apology for that statement that the government has neglected the Kenyans abroad. Of course, the government is doing all it can to bring the sanity, of course, to what is happening abroad and things that are happening to fellow Kenyans. So apologies to that. Now we want to take a short break. We'll be back with more. To stay with Hope TV Newswatch.
Every one of you have a journey to take. Your first step is your most important step. You don't go up to the top. You grow up to the top.
You are one decision away from shifting your life from where it is right now to a totally different place.
So often our setbacks are setups. It's just hard to see it at the time.
What if you interrupted that pattern of thinking and simply said, what do I want? That takes your energy and focus off of the problem and begins to focus you on a solution.
Success is a series of steps, not one giant leap.
Commitment will get us to the starting line. Consistency will get you to the finish line.
You were born. You were created for your life to count.
furahia na Optiven.
Dad! Gari mpya! Umetoa wapi gari mpya?
Optiven wametusort.
Optiven?
Nunua any of our value-added properties ama redeem installment ya property yako. Kwa kila malipo ya 10,000 unapata 1 entry point kwenye draw ya furahia na Optiven promotion. Airtime kushindaniwa kila siku, holiday kila wiki, shinda ploti na gari kila mwezi na grand prize ya Mercedes-Benz C180. Ni rahisi, buy ama redeem na ushinde na furahia na Optiven.
Welcome back to Newswatch. Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka has called on the church to maintain its integrity and refuse to be corrupted by leaders with ill-gotten money. Speaking when he attended burial ceremonies in Machakos and Kitui counties over the weekend, Kalonzo said the church must remain the conscience of the society and the moral compass of the nation. Kalonzo said the church was slowly losing its grip on moral matters in politics, calling for a change and a renewal. He has at the same time urged President Uhuru Kenyatta to crack the whip on corrupt leaders.
Church, msishiriki ufisadi. Church, msishiriki ufisadi. You are the last line of defense. If the church becomes corrupt, what becomes of the nation? Na church isionekane wanatumiwa na wanasiasa wafisadi. Kwa sababu ufisadi ukiingia kwa kanisa, inchi itakuwa wapi ndugu zangu? Kwa hivyo lazima sasa mjitokeze. I still remember nyakati za Bishop Ndingi Mwana Anzeki, when he was a bishop of Nakuru, the late Bishop Getari, Bishop Muge, walikuwa wanaandika pastoral letter na kupeana msimamo wa kiroho ili inchi isiangamie. Lakini siku hizi maaskofu wanaenda kuongwa. Jameni, Mungu atusaidie. Mungu atusaidie. Because if you lose your conscience, what does the Bible teach us? And believe you me, I'm talking to you as a believer. Chungeni sana. We may be talking of the remnant of the church. That is where we are. And I think the prophetess now needs to come and follow what I've said. Because sometimes I speak with great authority because I believe, I'm a believer in the saving grace and power of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Uasin Gishu Governor Jackson Mandago has asked members of parliament to ensure the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, is sufficiently funded to plan for the upcoming general election in 2022. Speaking at the Huduma Center grounds in Eldoret town during the launch of the mass voter registration exercise in the county, Mandago said an election is a key process in the country that nobody should gamble with. He said MPs must work on ensuring the Treasury releases all the funds the IEBC has been allocated on time to facilitate preparations for the polls.
We cannot afford as a nation to gamble about an election process. So we are asking Treasury, we are asking Parliament to allocate sufficient resources to IEBC. Tuwache kufanya mchezo na nchi. Hii pesa wapewe IEBC ya kufanya registration na ya maneno ya kufanya election. Na si wasipewe pesa last minute and then they are not even able to plan. They should be given money now.
A member of parliament has accused Deputy President William Ruto of a doublespeak over the rising cost of living occasioned by high energy cost. Game legislator Elisha Odhiambo said some national leaders have been bashing the government while they're still in it, terming it hoodwinking citizens to support their quest for political power. Speaking at Akala village in his constituency, the legislator called on the Deputy President to lead other independent power producers in the country in shutting down power plants, fleecing Kenyans through skewed contracts with the Kenya Power Company.
This country is going through a difficult process. The cost of electricity is up. And I'm telling William, the cost is up because you have a plant in Eldoret, a plant that is selling power to Kenya Power Lighting. Let me say this publicly today. For the electricity of the Republic of Kenya to go down, William Samoei Ruto must close his plants. We don't need the plants to have cheap electricity. The country is generating now about 3,000 megawatts.
Right, I do apologize for that technical hitch there. The Kilifi County government has made a passionate appeal to donors, well-wishers and non-governmental organizations to intervene and help thousands of families affected by drought. County CC for Gender, Dr. Anisa Omar, said the current situation is worrying and families are in dire need of food. So far, thousands of animals are dying while people are surviving on wild fruits. The most affected areas are Ganze, Magarini, Kaloleni, and some parts of Malindi.
So that they can navigate the court system.
We have a Rotary Club of Nakuru who have distributed to us 12 wheelchairs. 4 of them are specialized wheelchairs for cerebral palsy. In total, there are 9 for children and 3 for adults. Several crutches, several walking sticks, and white canes, among other items, which, as you can see, we have distributed here. We also have Rotary Club of Nairobi Karengata, who also reached out to us and said, we are happy to see what you're doing for people living with disability and would like to come in. We have a project where we are doing the white canes, and they asked us, do you have any people who are visually impaired? And when we did the database, immediately, within I think a day, we were able to get 80 people, and that is just the tip of the iceberg. And this is just within here in Malindi.
Today we are here in Malindi. We came to support Rotary Club of Malindi with mobility equipment. So we have a group of presidents from all over the country. So president of this club posted in the group showing a list of around 200 beneficiaries who needed mobility equipment. And Rotary projects, normally we do them based on needs. And when we looked at the list and the needs that were there, we got together as a club and thought it wise to be able to help this club with some mobility equipment, which we had, which were donated into our club, but we had not identified beneficiaries. But we thought because this club already has beneficiaries in place and they are in dire need of them, we decided to donate them over here, and that's why we came all the way to be able to support this club. And we are so happy to see the number of beneficiaries that have been reached. We didn't just bring wheelchairs. We looked at the cases and we were able to give special wheelchairs based on their needs. We had some cerebral palsy cases which we were able to give them special wheelchairs for cerebral palsy, and there are some that we gave the normal wheelchairs. And then we had wheelchairs meant for children and crutches.
Social network is very powerful. As my colleague has mentioned from Nakuru, we have a WhatsApp group not only for Kenya, but Kenya, Eritrea, Ethiopia, and South Sudan, of all presidents. We have about, I think, 200 presidents. And so if there's a need from one club, you can always post and you find that the need is there. So I'm here on behalf of the club and on behalf of Ayut Kenya. Ayut Kenya are the ones who do white canes in the country. It's an NGO, and they have trusted us as a Rotary Club of Karengata to be distributing white canes on needs basis. We don't just give out, we don't even give to the Association of Kenya Society of the Blind, no. We give it through communities so that they can reach directly to the beneficiaries.
Sisi walemavu tunashukuru sana kwa kupata hizi.
Now, World Animal Day or World Animal Welfare Day is observed every year on October 4th. The day is an international day of action for animal rights and welfare that aims to raise the status of animals. As the world marks the day, back here in Kenya, research has shown that donkeys face many challenges despite giving significant advantages to communities. Kisumu County veterinarian Dr. Movan Omolo says the number of donkeys in the country has dropped dramatically in less than 3 years. Some pastoralists from Kisumu County say the situation has been exacerbated by lack of awareness about the importance of donkeys despite its benefits, especially in assisting with water transport. Dolly Murigi tells us more.
As the world marks Animal Day on 4th October, cases of slaughtering and stealing of donkeys is on high rate in Nyakat, Kisumu County. Locals keeping donkeys have lamented on this rise, which to them has caused fear among them, even as they recall how the donkeys have been helping them with the daily activities generating income through them.
Haya mapunda mawili ndio nimesomesea hao watoto. Kwa hiyo najua faida ya punda. Punda ni muhimu. Ukiwa na punda na yule ambao yuko na probox ni karibu sawa sawa.
John Odio and Joash Okol are long-time donkey keepers, and to them it's the source of income despite the fear of losing them anytime.
Hata maji kutoka kwa mtoni napelekea watu wengine. Kutoka hapa naenda huko Sondu au Gapsrock, unachota huko mahindi na punda na kuja naye hapa. Sasa ukitembea naye hapa mjini unapata kama unapata pesa saa yoyote.
According to statistics given by Dr. Movano Molo, a veterinary doctor in the Kisumu County government, said numbers of donkeys have reduced significantly from 15,000 in the last 3 years to 3,000. Now a movie said is alarming.
You see, that rate is so much so that if we move at that rate for the next few months, then it means we'll have swept the entire donkey population in our county.
Omola say they have already put a mechanism to stop slaughter of donkeys, as well as creating awareness to donkey keepers on its importance.
Donkeys offer free transport that is equally cheap, and its prices is not going up, it's not fluctuating like the price of, example, fuel that we are seeing in our country. So the common wananchi, the common villagers who live with the donkeys and work with the donkeys, if we help them protect the welfare of this animal and the population that is there in these animals, then we will ensure that people live longer, families will be more stable, people will eat, people will go to school very safely.
Various organizations have also moved in to help educate the community on how good a donkey can serve a purpose to livelihoods.
We have community groups that we are working with in linkages between them and the county vets and the sub-county vets that we have, and also trained and licensed veterinary officers who can offer services to our communities that have animals that support their livelihood, and also for animal products, so that they can get treatment and proper welfare of the animals they have.
Dolly Mirigi for Hope TV Newswatch.
The Somto Caroline Adland Foundation, in conjunction with Hope Media Kenya for the Blind and other partners, over the weekend conducted a free eye medical camp themed Hope for Sight at the SEK St. Veronica South B Parish Church, which targeted the unreached within Nairobi slums of Mukuru, Kibra and Eastlands. More than 1,000 people, including children, benefited from the camp, as Jessica Gendi tells us.
This was the second free eye medical camp where the services provided included eye screening, treatment, medication, referrals, and eye care education. Thousands of people were registered, screened, diagnosed, and treated, and hundreds were referred for further treatment.
Mara yangu ya pili hapa sasa ni kuja kufanyiwa udhabiti na daktari.
Nilikuwa nimeleta mtoto wangu juu ya shida ya macho, amekuwa na allergy since 5 years.
Actually, it is free of charge, and everyone within the slum has now decided to come and actually get tested, more so in the eyesight sector. And in that connection, we are in our partnership with Somto, it has become a reality.
The foundation was born after Caroline Adland from Norway came to Kenya on internship and identified dire needs in the slums, after which she established the foundation to cater for the needs of slum dwellers, among them eye problems. Caroline Adland died in 2018 in an aeroplane crash from Ethiopia, and her father, Knut Adland, did not want her vision to die. Hence, he decided to continue with the foundation, being that she was his only child.
This is, in a way, a dream come true. When I lost my only child, my daughter Carolina, 2.5 years back in that dreadful air accident up, she was on her way down to Childrock and to do good works, working for Red Cross. We got an idea, it was just an idea half a year ago, and now we are here having the second round of this one. It's amazing. It's almost a fairy tale.
COVID-19 protocols were keenly observed with well-established hand-washing points. Social distancing was also achieved and free masks provided for all that came, with many asking why it's expensive for local or low-income earners to access proper eye and clinical services in the country.
We have government hospitals, and if you go there, actually you don't find exaggerated fee for eye examination and eye treatment.
The doctors also mentioned a few challenges they faced during the camp.
You realize there are quite a number of the population who are not able to access this service, and they wait until they have complications. The eye problems are really advanced. So it is critical for us to do this maybe more often. If the partners are able to support this often, that would be a great idea.
Asked about the common eye problems in Kenya,
we've seen quite a number of patients this far, and as we've seen, the most common problems that have come to my side are allergic conjunctivitis. Hiyo ni allergy ya macho, Alafu there is also refractive errors. This is the condition where you see a patient is not able to see near or far because when light gets into their eyes, there is a problem with the refraction.
The Sompto sponsor Knut Edland explained that the partnership means a lot to him, for he is continuing the legacy of his only child.
The Hope Media has been very, very substantially into this organization. Without you, I guess maybe hundreds of people would be here today. So thank you so much.
Nimepatiwa macho ya kuona, ya kusoma, na sasa nitasoma vizuri. Na nimepewa dawa, mimi ni diabetes, wamenipa madawa na tumefurahia sana sana. Ni kwa sababu madawa ya diabetes ni ya bei kali sana. Kwa hivyo tutawauliza wasidi kusaidia wale watu wa kitongoji hiki, kwa sababu ni watu hawajiwezi, ni watu wa mapato kidogo, ni watu hawana mabiashara mazito, na wakisaidiwa hapa wameokoa maisha ya maelfu ya watu.
I'm so grateful nimepata kusaidika, because I believe nikiweka zile dawa atakuwa sawa, then after that I'll get the specs na ataweza kusoma vizuri, juu wangu anaweza kusoma vizuri.
Reporting for Hope TV News Watch, I am Gendi Jessica.
Narok County Commissioner Evans Achoki has called on members of the public to take advantage of services offered at the county's Huduma Center to access government services. Achoki, who spoke at the Narok Huduma Center during the launch of the Customer Service Week, also called on Kenyans to take advantage of the season and register as voters at the center that has been stocked with IEBC registration kits. At the same time, the Commissioner launched the COVID-19 vaccination exercise at this center.
Today, we have launched the Narok County Huduma Center Customer Service Week. During this Customer Service Week, which the theme is the power of the customer, we will be showcasing various services. We will be offering various services apart from the 32 national and county services that we offer from this Huduma Center. We are showcasing or offering 4 major services. The first service that we'll be offering from here is the placement of university colleges. Young people can come to this center and they can choose the courses that they would want to pursue in the university. So that is the first service that we will be offering during this Customer Service Week. The second service that we'll be offering, apart from the services, the 32 other services, is the registration of voters from today to the 2nd of November. We will be registering voters. So this center, you can register as a voter in any constituency in Kenya. And then the third service that we are also offering during this Customer Service Week is in partnership with the county government, is the vaccination of COVID-19. And in this center during this week, we want to ensure that the queue management system, where the first come, first serve, will be prioritized.
All right, with that, let's take another short commercial break on News Watch. When we come back, we'll be looking at what is happening in business and sports.
Our world needs humble, confident, bold, and integrity-infused leaders.
Live online, Thursday through Friday, October 14th and 15th, 2021. Join thousands of curious, growth-minded, change-driven men and women like you for the premier leadership event of 2021, the Global Leadership Summit. Some of the world-class faculty includes Craig Goshel, Senior Pastor of Life Church, Jami Lima, Richard Montanes, who started off as a janitor and rose to be a top executive. Local faculty include Justice Daniel Musinga, who'll talk about the quest for justice, fairness, and equality. Bishop David Oginde, CEO and founder, the Carter Lead Associate. Daniel Kamau, CEO, Fusion Capital. Archbishop Eliud Wabuhala, Chairperson, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Committee. Among other speakers, guest musician will be Florence Moretti. To register, call 722-490325 or visit www.kenyaleadership.org. Everyone wins when a leader gets better.
Let's continue with business news. The Kenya Revenue Authority, KRA, says it has collected 476.646 billion shillings, surpassing the financial year 2021-22 Q1 revenue target of 461.6 billion shillings. The performance reflects the sustained revenue growth in the first 3 months of the year, with a performance rate of 103.2% and a growth of 30%. This was revealed on Monday during the launch of KRA's annual Taxpayers Month 2021, with this year's celebration themed Pamoja Twaweza. Speaking at the launch, KRA Board Chairman Ambassador Dr. Francis Mudhaura said the Taxpayers Month will run for the whole of October, and during the period, KRA shall engage in various activities which include taxpayer appreciation visits, taxpayer education, and a tax summit and corporate social responsibility (CSR) activities.
1, 2, 3.
The Taxpayers Month has over time become a permanent feature on KRA's calendar to appreciate and award compliant taxpayers and create a platform for stakeholders and general citizenry to give feedback on tax policies and processes. It is also a platform to encourage non-compliant taxpayers to comply.
The objective of the Taxpayers Month is to celebrate tax compliance in our country as a key foundation on which our country's economic stability is anchored. The Taxpayers Month spirit is therefore not only an opportunity to recognize past tax compliance, but also an opportunity to inject new impetus for future compliance.
And Simplifying, a Kenyan integrated food producer offering locally sourced and manufactured food products across East Africa, has completed the acquisition of Enns Valley Bakery. Simplifying will now launch in the market with a range of 21 baked products. In addition, the company will take over the production of baked goods at Chandarana Food Plus supermarkets. Commenting on this, Steve Carillon, the Simplifying president for Kenya, said the company is looking forward to introducing a range of new products over the coming months.
This room in which you're stood, this building in which you're in, will see in the next 6 months a $500,000 investment, bringing about process and product innovation that will see the retail and B2B customer be able to access products that are currently only available through import, making the range limited and often expensive. In doing so, Simplifying will continue to hire and develop Kenyan talent across its sites and amongst its core supporting functions. Simplifying will launch baked goods across the nation from tomorrow, but with a key moderation. We will introduce the Simplifying brand for everyday grocery baked goods. More critically, we'll introduce a range of artisan bake-at-home products across savouries, loaves, viennoiserie, and so on, such as croissants, pain au chocolat. As with all of our businesses, and with a total investment reaching $1 million, a range of goods will be available for export from Kenya to the Middle East and the rest of Africa. This country has the climate, the available fertile land, the hunger, the entrepreneurship, the right, and now quite clearly the talent and the backing of investors to do so.
To some sports news now, defending champion Sahib Omar celebrated his 35th birthday with victory in the KCB Nanyuki Autocross 7, which culminated at the Batian View racetrack yesterday. The birthday boy had his campaign effectively sewn up when his closest race adversary, Eric Bengi, failed to match his heat times. Nanyuki's victory went down as Sahib's third of the season after his previous two at Jamhuri Park racetrack in Nairobi. The Ray Racing driver also suffered back-to-back success after a strong win at Jamhuri Park last month. Driving a Subaru Impreza GC8, Sahib ran quickest in the early morning practice loop, in which he beat Bengi by 3 milliseconds. Sahib was 2 seconds faster than Bengi in the second heat, and again 5 milliseconds quicker than him in the penultimate heat.
So we finished our track today, and it's a good thing that I've become a winner today. Being my birthday is a good present I can give to myself. Having the fastest time of the day, all the hits doing under 2 minutes, and good competition from my friends, Eric Bengi, Alavjot Singh. Very good competition from them, but I'm really lucky and also happy that I've won the event today. The course was a good one. Nanyuki Batian always is a good course for me. As I said before, it's one of my favorite tracks. Having being here, it's always a good thing. Last time we were here, also set the fastest time. So this time also I'm setting the fastest time. Also is a good thing. So yeah, very good. So far in the season, out of 7, I've managed to win three events. This being the third one. We're remaining with 3 more. I'm second in championship, so hopefully in that 3 things can change, and we can take the championship again the 4th year in a row. So yeah, that's what we're hoping.
Now, Harambee Stars head coach Engin Firat has named his final travelling squad for the upcoming 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifier against Mali on Thursday. FKF Premier League Golden Glove winner James Saruni has once again been dropped despite his form in goal that saw him keep 12 clean sheets last season for his club Ulinzi Stars. Experienced defenders Joash Onyango and David Calabar Owino have made the cut in the department that consists of Eric Ouma, Joseph Okumu, Johnston Omurwa, Daniel Sakari, David Owino of KCB, Bolton Omwenga, and FKF Premier League Defender of the Year Eugene Asike. A former Chelsea and Leicester City boss, Claudio Ranieri, is the new Watford FC manager. Ranieri has signed a 2-year deal after leaving his role as Sampdoria manager at the end of last season. The Italian succeeds Cisco Munoz, who was fired over the weekend after less than 10 months in charge. The Spaniard Munoz replaced Vladimir Ivic in December 2020 and guided the club to automatic promotion from the championship last season. Watford at 14th in the Premier League with 7 points from their opening 7 games. Well, and that's where we end our broadcast tonight on Newswatch. Many thanks for staying with us. I'll see you again tomorrow, same time. I'm Tony Omondi, and our sign language interpreter has been Boniface Murithi. I leave you with tomorrow's weather forecast. Have a good night.